Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Steven Melendez, and I'm going to be bringing you guys the latest and greatest in soccer news from around the world. Welcome back, everyone, to your favorite soccer podcast. Really happy to talk to you guys again. I know it's been a little while since I put out an episode, but I'm back, guys. Your favorite man is back, and I'm excited to talk to you guys about a lot of soccer news going on in the world. I know we have the Premier League starting up again. We're going to get into that. But I'm telling you, man, I am just so happy to just get the season going again. I mean, it's just like it feels like it just ended, and it's starting up once again. And honestly, I mean, that's what I've said it so many times on this podcast. I feel so good about that. Like, I love that about soccer. It never ends. It's always going again and again. It never ends. And we had some international football with the UEFA Nations League, which I just love the way that all works out. We still have MLS. We got it all. And, of course, we're continuing my Top 10 series. So let's just get into what we're going to be talking about in today's show. For the first segment, I'm going to be talking about match week 1 in the Premier League. We had a lot of exciting games. Some I mentioned in my previous episode where I talked about the Premier League season and, it came to fruition. In the second part of the show, we're going to be talking about the MLS games of the week and, of course, some top transfer news as the transfer windows, are getting closer to, the end. In the third part of the show, we're going to be continuing the recap of the UEFA Nations League. This time I'm going to be just going pretty quickly through League B through D, some of the lower quality countries. But, of course, they still need their love, so we're going to talk about them a bit. And then lastly, we're going to be continuing my Top 10 series with the best wingers in the world. So let's get right into it, talking about the Premier League match week 1 games. And I just want to start off with the first game of the week, which was Arsenal versus Fulham. This was 2 games. This was a game between 2 teams that were pretty much heading in opposite directions. I mean, Fulham just got promoted from the Championship, so, they're obviously excited to be back in the Premier League. And then we have Arsenal, who have recharged their lineup, bringing in Willian. You got Gabriel. And, they're excited for a big-time season. They're hoping to, make some noise and get back up in that top 5, top 4, because as we all know, Arsenal have not been, one of those top clubs. They have not been the giants that they were back in the early 2000s. It just has not been like that. So this game seemed like a bit of a turnaround, especially when, we mentioned that Arsenal won the Community Shield to start the season over Liverpool. I don't care if that's considered preseason. If you beat Liverpool and they didn't sit out their stars, they still had their full complementary of players in Liverpool, and Arsenal still beat them. So that was also obviously a great start to Arsenal's season, and they went on to continue that hot start with a 3-0 victory over Fulham. Now, like I said, this first match was clearly over one-sided because Arsenal just have way more quality than Fulham. During my Premier League season preview, I talked about how Fulham is pretty much the weakest side out of any other team in this entire the entire Premier League. So I was not expecting much from them in this game, especially with Arsenal, being really excited to get their, their big time campaign going. And the new signings of Gabriel and Willian showed up big time. They were the two best players on the field for Arsenal. I know Aubameyang was a beast, as always. Bringing him in, which we're going to be talking about later in the show, and with the top transfer news, bringing him in and getting him to recommit with Arsenal and not leave was huge. And he showed it with some unbelievable skills, and of course had to bring in a goal of his own. But man, Willian was just he was everything that Arsenal didn't have last year. Like, Arsenal had those top goal scorers in Lacazette. They had, obviously Aubameyang, but they didn't have a guy that can create on his own and set up guys, week in and week out. Willian is that guy for him. He almost had a hat trick of assists, and he almost had a goal too. It got blocked by the goalkeeper, but then Lacazette was there to tip it in. And honestly, when I really think about this game, I can't help but think that Arsenal would be fine without Lacazette. I mean, yeah, he's their number 9, but I mean, you can move Aubameyang up there. I mean, if they want to get a legit number 9 and keep Aubameyang on the left wing, that's fine too. But I just feel like Lacazette just doesn't fit well with this team. And if they can move him out or ship him or maybe do a swap, like I've heard rumors that there could be a swap with him and Thomas Partey from Atletico Madrid, I think that would be huge for them. I mean, to get a guy that controls your midfield, because they don't really have anybody like that. I mean, they have some guys, but I mean, for the most part, they're kind of weak in the midfield. Like, I just don't like what Arsenal have in the midfield, and I feel like that is probably one of the biggest things that you need in the Premier League. You're talking about teams like Chelsea, Manchester United, Man City. Those top-tier teams have, high-quality midfields, and if you want to match up against them, you need to match that with, just as good high-quality midfield. Even Everton, which we're going to talk about later, have, a really, really improved midfield, and they showed it in Matchweek 1. So, overall, I mean, what Arsenal did in this game, going up 3-0, just looking amazing, and Gabriel, I mean, I got to talk about him. The way he played, he was almost man of the match in my opinion. It's just like what Willian was able to do in terms of setting up his teammates and just always finding guys in the right spots. He could have easily had 3-4 assists in this game. He just, it doesn't always work out that way. And he was just almost perfect with his passes. Willian, of course, completed 96% of his 26 passes. That's nothing crazy, but I mean, for you to complete 96%, when he had his chances, he took advantage of them. And that's all you can ask for. Of course, you can't really take too much out of this. Fulham, again, are going to be a relegation team this year, or at least battling relegation for most of this season, or for all of this season, I should say. So you can't really take too much out of this Arsenal win, but they did win 3-0. When you take on a team like this, if you were win 1-0, 2-1, then, okay, yeah, that's not too... But to win 3-0, that's convincingly. And, it shows that you are obviously a much better team. Fulham, were just completely outmatched in this game. And that's what you want to see if you are an Arsenal fan. But I do believe that if Arsenal are to take it to that next level, they do need to get their top signing from last season in Pepe, into this squad. And I know he disappointed big time last year, probably one of their biggest disappointment last season. But they need him in the squad. You can't have that much money on your bench and you're barely playing him. I think he only played like 20 minutes last season. 20 minutes in this game. And you just need to see more from that. And that's why I feel like you can move Lacazette out. You move Aubameyang to the striker position. You have Pepe in the left wing and Willian on the right wing. And that's a blistering front three. I'm talking about the amount of pace you got there, the amount of creative ability. I feel would just be really tough to match from any other team. For Fulham, I did see some, there was barely anything I could see that was good in the game, but defensive midfielders, Tom Kearney and Harrison Reed, they played solid. They had some good games. They just Fulham in the end, they just didn't have enough quality up ahead, like in the front three, to really get anything going. It just was not enough. But all in all, this is a dream start for Arsenal. Like I said, defeating Liverpool in the Community Shield and then making quick work of Fulham. It's a great start. But it will be interesting to see how they play against some of the bigger clubs in the Premier League, because honestly, teams rarely take the Community Shield seriously. I'm talking about like really show their full complement of whatever they're planning for this season. So, we got to wait and see what happens there. Next, we have the game that I was talking about in the Premier League preview, Liverpool versus Leeds United. And my God, did this game show up. This game really, really impressed me. Leeds United, just barely losing to Liverpool 4-3. And it felt like every time Liverpool came with an answer, which, people expected, they took the lead, but Leeds United just came right back with a goal of their own. And as I was watching this game and I was hearing the, commentators talking, it was like they were surprised. They were extremely surprised that Leeds United were actually going toe-to-toe with this giant, with this Premier League giant. And, so was I. And Liverpool had their full force of star players. They had Mane, Firmino, Salah up front, that famous front three. They had Keita, Henderson, Wijnaldum in the midfield. And, of course, that deadly back line of Robertson, Alexander-Arnold, and then Van Dijk and Gomez ahead of Alisson. So, there's literally no reason why Liverpool shouldn't have, run away with this game. Obviously, it's still good that they won. It shows their resiliency as champions, but they needed 2 penalties from Salah to get through. And it's not that they were, questionable penalties. They were clear penalties. Leeds United, on the first one, the defender had his hand, off of his body. So, that was a clear one. And then the last one, though, it's oh, my God, Rodrigo, what are you doing? What are you doing? The record signing for Leeds United comes through and absolutely ruins the game for them. He comes in as a substitute and gives a lazy foul at the end on Wijnaldum in the box in the 87th minute. Come on, you just can't do that. You just can't do that. I don't care if you felt like you had it. If he scores the goal, he scores the goal. You don't go and put out your leg like that and let the referee make a call at the end of a game. You just can't. I don't know. That just disappointed me big time, because I feel really good about Leeds heading into, especially now with the way they played against Liverpool. I feel really good about Leeds United heading into this season. And there's talks that they could get even more quality into this side. Whatever, it's fine. In the end, Rodrigo, he made a mistake. He's going to learn from it. He's still going to be probably, Leeds United, one of their best players or one of their key players for this season. But, God, what a terrible way to end that game. Salah was a beast. He was, as always, just creating things nonstop for Liverpool. 7 successful dribbles, a hat trick of goals, completed 80% of 46 passes. This man was doing it all for them. And you got some creativity from Sané as well. And Sané's obviously going to have a great season, but this was Salah's game. He got the 2 penalties, and it's not like that's a cakewalk. It's not like you're expected to just score every single, you are, but it's not that easy. And he slotted those home, really, really easy. I definitely expected more from the Premier League champions, especially their defense. I know Robertson and Alexander-Arnold are not world-class defenders, but, come on, Van Dijk. He literally gave Leeds United a goal with a terrible clearance that landed literally right in front of Bamford. And he put it into the back of the net. Like a quality striker like him should do. But, you just need to see more from Van Dijk. You need to see more from Liverpool. If they play like this throughout the rest of the season, they're not going to be the champions. They're not going back-to-back. I can guarantee you that. But in the end, Liverpool did win. They got their 3 points. They won 4-3. And Leeds United, watch out for them, man. They're gonna finish. I can easily see them finishing, top half of the table, no question. Any better than that? I don't know. We'll just have to keep an eye on that one. Next, we have Leicester City versus West Brom Albion. Another newly promoted side in West Brom getting absolutely annihilated by another high-quality side in Leicester City. Leicester City did have some guys out. Pereira wasn't playing. Ndidi had to come back. Needed to play some center back because they had some other, main defenders out for, I think it was some injuries or suspensions, something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but all in all, Leicester City just looked so much better than West Brom. Even though, they did look pretty solid in attack. They had some opportunities here and there, but they couldn't get a good final ball. They had literally one shot on target. West Brom, obviously. But when you think about it, Leicester City were also without one of their. Technically they were missing two of their starting fullbacks from last season, because obviously Pereira, I already said, was out, and then Chilwell off to Chelsea wasn't there either. However, they didn't miss him. The replacement, Timothy Castagne, I believe, he scored on his debut and was the man of the match in this game. What an excellent way to start his Premier League career. Can you ask for anything better? He scored the first goal of the game and just looked poised. He was excellent in defense. He had 4 recoveries, 2 interceptions, won 5 of 6 aerials. So this man can get up there. 2 clearances. He did it all for Leicester in this game. And then you of course got two goals from the Golden Boot winner from last season and Jamie Vardy just doing what he does. They were both penalties, but he'll take them how he gets them. He doesn't care. But I'm telling you, this is just Jamie Vardy doing what he does. Another great start to the season for him, and a good start for Leicester City. Getting their 3 points, and West Brom. You need to see more from West Brom. The one player that stood out from them, in my opinion, was Matías Pereira. He was the most active for them. He was doing a lot on both ends. But they're going to be relying on him a lot in terms of creativity, scoring goals. They have some strikers. Charlie Austin off the bench. They have some. But for the most part, West Brom is not a really high-quality side. And they're going to need some help. In my opinion, I feel like they're probably going to have to rely on their defense, even though they have more quality up front on the attack. They're definitely going to need to rely on that defense to get them through most games, try to find draws wherever they can, win against lower quality sides. But for the most part, it's going to be a tough season for West Brom. And Leicester, good start, especially with them having to make so many adjustments to their starting lineup with injuries and suspensions. So keep an eye out for Leicester, guys. Next, we got Tottenham versus Everton. A game between 2 teams that are trying to figure out who they are this season. And, you got 2 top managers. You got Carlo Ancelotti for Everton and Jose Mourinho for Tottenham. I don't know how... I like Carlo Ancelotti way better than Mourinho. I'm sure anybody would say that, but other than Tottenham fans. But this was just a huge game for both teams. They were eager to show that this 2020-21 campaign is going to be different from their previous season, because Tottenham was just probably the most disappointing team from last year, and Everton just have not shown anything ever since I've been a soccer fan. I've said this already. So, all in all, this was just one team fulfilling their goals in Everton, looking very, very solid, and showing off their brand new midfield of James Rodriguez, Allen, and Decore. Those guys were unbelievable for this team. I couldn't even pick one man of the match. I just said the midfield trio. That midfield trio was the match for Everton. It helped them control the game, make the right decisions. Even the defense. Obviously Decore being great in defense, but also being able to move up. And James, come on. I'm just so glad he's out of that, out of Real Madrid. I'm not saying that Real Madrid's a bad team, but man, they just did not treat him right. Sending him on loan, bringing him back, not wanting to use him. he's finally on a squad that wants him, that could use him. And, I mean, his world-class ability just shows. It just shows. I mean, he's so poised with the ball. He knows how to make the right reads. He was just on fire. And, of course, Alan just molding all that together, being great in the attack, solid in defense. And this is exactly what Everton needed. They needed an insertion of quality into this team that can really make a difference, and this is what they did. They added these guys, and they're going to make the difference for Everton this season. The goal came from Dominique Calvert-Lewin, who has been their striker for a few seasons now, and is looking to be another strong season for him. But he hasn't really put his name out there as one of the better strikers in the league, but I feel like this season could be a difference maker. He's the guy for them this season. And then, of course, I cannot forget to mention Richarlison, who, albeit he made some terrible decisions in this game, like that first chance at goal he had, he should have given it to Calvert-Lewin, but he decided to go for goal and completely missed it. But all in all, he is the creative hub for them. He's the guy who's going to... I mean, he had like 10 successful dribbles in this game. Like, that's ridiculous. And he just couldn't get that final ball to the back of the net. Don't expect that to happen from moving forward. He's going to get his goals. And I also need to mention Jordan Pickford. After, having kind of a trash season last year, was, getting a lot of people asking for Dean Henderson to move ahead of him in the England squad. He showed up in this game. Made some big-time saves. And, I mean, on the Tottenham side, I mean, my God, what a train wreck. They look so bad. They don't look like a team. They straight up, they do not look like a team. I mean, you can see it with the way Lloris was yelling at Song heading into halftime. I mean, they almost got into a fight. And, I mean, you sometimes you like to see that because, it means that they have fire. They want to see better from each other. But they didn't get any better in the second half. It just continues to look really bad for Mourinho, and I mean this was Everton's first win at Tottenham since 2008. Since 2008, so huge start to the season for Everton and a really, really bad one for Tottenham. Next, we had my favorite game of the week. Or at least my most exciting. I was really excited to see this one with Chelsea versus Brighton. I mean, because if I had to choose a team in the Premier League that I'm a fan of, it's Chelsea because I'm a huge Pulisic fan. But Pulisic obviously didn't play this one because they're still they're making sure they're careful with him after those injuries that he faced at the end of last season. But man, this was an encouraging sign from Chelsea. Timo Werner looked pretty solid, not all that great. They had Kai Havertz in there. He didn't really make his presence felt too much, but he's a young kid. I mean, it's going to take a little while for him to get used to Premier League play. But honestly, all in all, and also with Brighton, like I said in the Premier League preview, I picked Brighton as my surprise team of the season, and they did play, even though they lost 3-1 in this game, they looked pretty solid. I mean, overall, they stayed there together with Chelsea. Heading into halftime, they're only down 1-0. They even equalized just 10 minutes into the second half with a really nice shot from Leandro Trossard. But after that, Chelsea just ran away with it. And more specifically, Reece James showed up. I mean, this guy hit a rocket from outside the box to hit it inside. The goalkeeper had no chance. There was literally no chance for him to stop this goal. And then he even supplied an assist off a corner kick to Kurt Zouma, who hit who got the foot on the shot, but then a deflection helped it get in. But all in all, solid game from Chelsea. Good start to the season. They're getting their 3 points. Brighton, it was an encouraging sign to see them go toe to toe against this Premier League giant. So expect them to be a challenge for a lot of teams heading into the season. And of course, my man of the match has to be Reece James. This guy, I feel like he should be their right back of, the season. And, he had a really encouraging game and shows no reason that he shouldn't be. The other few games that were going on this season, in Matchweek 1, the Wolves taking on Sheffield United, 1-2-0. Great start to the Wolves season. I remember it took like 7 matches last year for them to get, their first 7 matches to win their first game. So great start for them. Newcastle United won 2-0 against West Ham. Callum Wilson and Jeff Hendrick got their goals. And Crystal Palace started off their season strong with a 1-0 victory over Southampton, with, of course, none other than Wilfried Zaha getting the goal for them. I mean, who else, right? So that's going to finish it up for this segment. Make sure you guys stick around, because in the next, when I come back, we're going to be talking about the MLS games of the week and, of course, that juicy top transfer news.
Are you looking to get your college football fix? Looking to get the latest news on your favorite school's team? The GSMC College Football Podcast is your ticket to all things college football. Join us as we talk college football, from the national championship, the college rivalries, the bowl game, to the Heisman Trophy. To which conference is the best? We've got you covered for the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, the Pac-12, ACC, and everything in between. Download the GSMC College Football Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back, everyone. If you missed it, the last segment we talked about Matchweek 1 in the Premier League. I talked about some of the top games, maybe that you missed, so you want to go check it out. Go right ahead. I won't blame you. But now we're going to be talking about the MLS games of the week and, of course, the top transfer news. So let's get right into it, talking about, of course, I'm always going to start off with Inter Miami because, I'm from Miami. I love my team. So Orlando City versus Inter Miami. Orlando City comes out on top 2-1 in this rivalry, and my God, that is exactly what this is. You can see it right from the onset, how much these teams don't like each other. Even though Inter Miami just started, there's already some, animosity between these two teams, and I love it. I mean, that's what I want to see. I want to see Inter Miami and Orlando, because these are the two teams. These are the two teams in Florida. It's the Florida Derby, and you want to see them not like each other because that's just good football. That's just good football, guys. But all in all, I mean, Orlando City just looked way more organized in this game, and oh my God, Inter Miami's back line, that defense drives me absolutely nuts. I'm talking about bonkers, guys. Like, I cannot stand how unorganized they are in that back line. And most of all, the center back, Andres Reyes, the Colombian, I mean, I know he's super young. He's like 20 years old, but I mean, he just had a terrible game. He had an own goal. He had a yellow card. And then he also led to the second goal for Orlando City because he got off of his line. I mean, it makes me want to pull my hair out to see, just clear mistakes being made. And I literally started, as soon as Andres Reyes moved up on the second goal to stop, the player for absolutely no reason. I mean, you learn this in freaking elementary school of your elementary school soccer team. Stick with your back line. You don't move ahead of your back line for any reason. I don't care if they're on a fast break or a counter. You got to stick with your back line. If not, you're going to open things up and leave your guys hanging, and that's exactly what Reyes did in this game. On the Orlando City side, I mean, you had some solid performances from Mauricio Pereira, Christian Mueller. They all played well. Nani was solid, but out of all of them, I have to give the love to Ruran Teixeira, the right back for Orlando City. I mean, this guy was doing it all for them. He was the thorn to the Inter Miami side because he was just back and forth making all the right plays. He completed 84% of his 25 passes, and he was a dynamite on defense. He won 6 of 7 tackles, like 6 tackles. Like, they got 8 of 13 duels, 5 recoveries. I mean, he was all over the place and did the dirty work for Orlando City, and was a big reason why they won this game. If it had gone the other way, if Inter Miami would have drawn this game, I probably would have given it to Breck Shea, because, I mean, when he came on at halftime, I could tell the difference in how the team played. You know, if they felt more confident, or there was just more connection, and he even got the goal off a really nice cross from Rodolfo Pizarro, and all for the most part, I mean, with Matuidi on the side, I haven't really felt that big of a difference. I mean, he's good. I'm not trying to say he's not good, but I mean, for the most part, there hasn't been that big a change in quality. I mean, I still feel like we make the mistakes that we were making before he came into the side, and I mean, he's not expected to change what happens, you know, on the back line. I mean, that just needs to get better, but you know, it's just I expected a little bit more. I mean, it's kind of hard to really expect more from a player that plays the center defensive mid position, because that's not going to really show up on the stat sheet. I understand that, but at the same time, I mean, he is one of the highest paid players in MLS, and I know now we're getting Higuain. I mean, that's been reported now, and it's kind of official, so that's going to be huge, because God knows we need a number 9. I mean, Robbie Robinson and Carranza is just not going to cut it there, even though I really like Robinson more than Carranza for sure. I mean, I just feel like, even though Carranza got those 2 goals, I just feel like he's way too inconsistent. And Robbie Robinson, I mean, he's young, but I feel like he shows more poise when he gets the ball at his feet. And don't even get me started with Pellegrini. I mean, there's a reason why he was so, you know, we paid like $11 million for him, and he's on the bench. He's been a complete disappointment for us. But I mean, I should talk about Orlando City more. You know, they were just really solid on the counterattacks. I mean, they made Inter Miami, you know, fall into a few mistakes, and I mean, that own goal was partly due to, you know, just how nice of a cross it was from Pereira. It was a set piece, you know, it was like a free kick, but pretty much from half, you know, the half field line. And it was just a perfect lob pass. I mean, you couldn't have delivered it any better. And it really put, you know, Luis Robles in a really tough decision. Like, should he go out for it, punch it out? Should he hold on? You know, does he have to wait? And he obviously ended up waiting, and it bit them in the butt. You know, so that obviously hurt. And but Orlando City overall, they just placed a lot of pressure on Inter. They placed a lot of pressure on them, and we're just getting so many opportunities in the final third. It's honestly surprising that they weren't up by more. You know, I could have easily seen this being like a 3-1 or even a 4-1 game. But I like the fact that Inter Miami, especially the manager for Inter Miami, he makes the right decisions in terms of the substitution. I think that substitution of Shea at halftime was a very strong one. It actually turned the tide of the game. It turned the tide of the game. But I just need to talk really quick about the referees in this game. I mean, I understand that penalty that was given to us, and also a red card on I forgot his name from the Orlando City defender who screamed at at Carranza for falling to the floor after getting hit. And he actually got hit. I mean, this guy put his leg in between his feet. I mean, I thought that was ridiculous. Because when I saw him yelling at him, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, this guy, Carranza probably flopped. Because obviously, when you're seeing it quick, you can't really tell what's going on. But then when you see it happen in slow motion, it's like, no, are you kidding me? Like, you know you did something wrong, and you're going to yell at him to try to make it seem like you didn't make a foul. And it was a red. I mean, it was a second yellow on him, and it was going to be a red card, and a penalty for Inter Miami. That was going to change the course of the game. It would have given us a chance to equalize the game at 2-2 and then be a man up. And we could have won that game. But in the end, the ref called an offside. It wasn't like a clear offside. It was close. It was like, come on. But the thing I hate about it the most is that he goes, gives the man the yellow card, says we got a penalty, and then after that says, never mind, there's an offside. And it's like, what? What? Like, how are you going to give the man a red and put a penalty, and then after all those decisions say it's offside? It's like, man, come on, don't tease us like that. Don't tease us. That's just messed up. But whatever. Anyways, it ended with a 2-1 win for Orlando City. They win the derby, and this is going to be a rivalry for years to come. I already don't like Orlando City. Like, I know they haven't done anything in the MLS since they've joined, so it's not like they're anything big, but, I don't like them already. So, rivalry is set. Next, we're going to be talking about Nashville versus Atlanta United. And my God, I mean, Nashville, just another game and another impressive performance. I mean, they overwhelmed Atlanta United. And Atlanta is the higher quality side, but you wouldn't tell by looking at this game. Like, you just watch this game and you can tell Nashville FC have figured it out. I mean, they figured it out. I mean, I'll tell you what, the sloppiness from Atlanta United in this game was ridiculous. I mean, the amount of times that they gave the ball up and it led to solid opportunities for Nashville. I mean, this could easily have been like a 6-2 game because Nashville had way more opportunities than Atlanta to score. They just couldn't really, get the ball in the back of the net to start the game. But overall, it was just bad. It was just bad from Atlanta United. I mean, that defense is a problem. I mean, they've now given up 15 goals in 11 matches. Not that that's the worst in the league, but I mean, compared to last season, and I know last season they had Josef Martinez, their star striker, to bail them out, with his quality and how good he was. But I mean, when you're as good as Atlanta United and you're as hyped as Atlanta United, you need to figure out You need to figure out a way to win games without your star player. I mean, you still have plenty of quality. You got to be better than what you've shown. And in this game, I have to give the man of the match to Dax McCarty. I mean, this guy was literally doing everything for Nashville. He had a goal, he had 2 assists, a tackle, one of one aerials, 2 interceptions, 5 recoveries, 3 clearances. Contributed on the offensive end and was a force on the defensive end. Can you ask for any more from your defensive midfielder? Absolutely not. And going back to what I was talking about with Tweety, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. Can you meet Dax McCarty? Not to say he's bad. I mean, he'd probably wipe the floor with he would wipe the floor with me, but that's not saying much. I'm just talking about the sports. I play some soccer. I'm not too bad. I'm a left-footed. I'll play some midfield. Just saying. But Dax McCarty just absolutely dominated this game. Was a big reason why Nashville looked as dominant as they did. And Atlanta did get a goal with about 30 minutes left. And, of course, you're going to see the commentators like, oh, they have a chance to come back in this game. Atlanta's big, but Nashville closed the door on that real quick. So Nashville get the win 4-2. Just another solid performance from them, looking great. And, I mean, honestly, hats off to them. Their inaugural season, and they're just looking really, really good. So next, let's talk about Chicago Fire versus the Columbus Crew. And I feel like this was the game of the week. I mean, the Chicago Fire are on one side of the standings, and Columbus Crew are looking like the best team in the entire league. And you wouldn't tell by looking at this game. I mean, Chicago Fire came out firing, no pun intended, on all cylinders. I mean, they scored. I mean, the usual pressure that you see from Columbus Crew, affecting teams and making them, lose possession and cause counters for Columbus, it just wasn't there. I mean, Columbus was still putting pressure, but Chicago Fire were just really getting good connections between their players, and we're getting a lot of good opportunities. And it resulted in a 2-0 lead for Chicago. And they went into halftime up 2-0. So it's not like, it was like, it was just a small spurt, and then the Columbus, got it together, even though it did end 2-2. I'm going to get to that real soon. I mean, the resiliency of Columbus was big. Right? You got to love it. You got to love what they showed you. And it was just overall a great game. Overall, it was a really, really great game from the Chicago Fire and Columbus Crew. Because, I mean, they came back. They came back and scored. It was a little lucky, I have to say, because there were some deflections that for both goals that really got Columbus both of their goals. I mean, especially the last one where like there was one of the Columbus Crew attackers shot it, and it bounced off one of the Chicago Fire defenders, and it literally went right into the path of Gyasi Zardes. Literally right into the path. And for a guy of his quality, he's going to put it in when it's just him and the goalkeeper, because that's what it was. It was just literally him and the goalkeeper for the win, and he got it, or not for the win, for the equalizer, and he got it. And the Columbus Crew were able to at least get a point back in this game. I didn't see that happening. I really thought that Chicago Fire was going to get these 3 points, but they'll still take it. Going into this game, they did not expect to win. They just did not. When you're doing as bad as Chicago Fire in the midst of a rebuild, going up against the top team in the MLS so far this season, you are, like, all right, let's put up a good fight. I mean, they're not going into this game expecting to lose, but no, I'm talking about like media, fans. No one really expected them to really put up this kind of fight. So it still does suck to lose, to give up a late equalizer, but you'll take a 2-2 draw if you're Chicago Fire. And maybe they can build off this, honestly. Next, we have a game between two of the top teams in the MLS, in LAFC and Portland Timbers. Portland Timbers haven't looked the same since the MLS's back tournament. I've said this so many times, and it's just the truth. And it sucks for them. I mean, they're now losing. They've lost Sebastian Blanco to a torn ACL. I mean, you never like to see that. And then obviously LAFC have missed Carlos Vela. So you got two very, talented players out for both of these teams. And LAFC were able to, they're used to playing without Vela already. Blanco has, just recently got injured, and so that, they're still getting used to it, and it showed with LAFC winning this game 4-2. And there was a lot of good action in this game. The thing is, like, these are two also of the worst defensive teams in the league, giving up 22 plus goals in the season so far. The Western Conference is way more high scoring than the Eastern Conference, so it was kind of expected, but to give up 20 plus goals in about 11 matches, that's not good. That's just not good, especially if you're trying to compete for the title this year. That's just not going to work. And LAFC ended up coming through. Going into halftime, it was actually 3-2, and there was 3 goals in the final 6 minutes of the half. Freaking LAFC scored a goal to make it 3-1 in extra time, and then you're thinking, oh, okay, that 3-1, very solid for LAFC. Portland Timbers ain't looking so good, but then they get another goal. Portland Timbers, they get a goal literally with seconds remaining. The resiliency was really good from Portland Timbers, but in the end, they just couldn't hold on, and the second half was way tighter. There was only 1 goal in the second half, and it was literally all the way at the end, like the last seconds of the game. So the managers definitely made their defensive tactics or defensive adjustments in this game, and it definitely made a difference. But in the end, the Portland Timbers still lose this game. LAFC get their 3 points and are looking good without Vela. And of course, you get a goal from Rossi, his 10th of the season. And they got another assist from Brian Rodriguez, making it his 5th of the season to lead the group. So now with that done on the MLS, let's get right into my favorite part of this segment with the top transfer news. Starting with Bale. Of course, everyone knows, James Rodriguez got his way out of Real Madrid, and now it's time for Bale to get his way out. And it says that he's interested in joining Manchester United. And that would be huge. That would be big, especially for Manchester United, big for Bale. Two sides that really, are looking for more quality, or, and obviously Bale looking for more playing time, and he would get that in Manchester United. But Tottenham are also interested in him. So it'll be interesting to see how those two, obviously we could say that Tottenham could use him a lot more than Manchester United. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. The Thiago saga looks to be getting closer to an end, with Liverpool possibly signing him soon. They do still need to get a few more transfer funds, and it looks like they're trying to sell Origi to the highest bidder to facilitate that move. I wished it wouldn't be that way. I wanted Thiago to move to PSG. I feel like he would have been a great addition for us, but it looks like he's probably on the way to Liverpool, and that would be huge for them, especially with their defense not looking too good. To add him alongside Henderson, and it looks like, it's possible Wijnaldum ends up in Barcelona. We're not sure about that yet. So to replace Wijnaldum there in the midfield would just be great for Liverpool, and he's obviously a way better player. I mean, not way better. Wijnaldum is a great midfielder, but Thiago's one of the best midfielders in the world, and that's just you can't really compare that. Next, we got Sergio Reggione getting closer to a Tottenham move. Another player that would just be huge for Tottenham to get, especially with them, not looking so good in this side. I mean, he would be a great wingback to add. And they're also looking at striker Bas Dost from Frankfurt to add a bit more depth to the squad. And, I mean, they need it. They need some kind of injection of energy, injection of just fresh players, because it's just not looking good for them. Atletico Madrid, reportedly it was saying that Atletico Madrid rejected a $118 million bid for Jose Jimenez from Manchester City. That ended up being false, because Manchester City saying that they would not spend that much on a defender. And I mean, I think that's a great idea. Don't spend over $110 million on a defender. If they can get that under 100, under 90. I mean, Jose Jimenez, he's a world-class defender, and he would be, a huge addition for Manchester City alongside Laporte. But, no. For $118 million, absolutely not. And, of course, I cannot forget Aubameyang officially signing his extension with Arsenal. That's huge. Same thing with Jack Grealish. He signed that 5-year Aston Villa contract. Him saying that this is his club, this is his home. You love that if you're an Aston Villa fan. I mean, this is obviously your best player. To be able to hold on to him for another 5 years, I mean, if anything, this will just make that transfer fee even more. So, either way, this is a great move for Aston Villa. So, that's going to wrap it up for this segment. I hope you guys stick around, because in the next segment, we're going to be continuing our UEFA Nations League recap, talking about League B to D. So stick around, guys.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back, everybody. In the last segment, if you missed it, we talked about some of the MLS games of the week, And then we also discussed some of the transfer news going on around the world. And now we're going to be continuing our recap of the UEFA Nations League. I talked about League A in the last episode, and now I'm just going to do a quick summary about League B through D. Not a lot of prominent countries here, but, you got a couple good players sprinkled in around here. We're just going to get into, how each country is looking heading into the second phase of matches coming in October. So let's get right into it. Starting with League B, Group 1, we got Romania, Austria, Norway, and Northern Ireland. In this group, we have Romania leading with 4 points, and then you got Austria and Norway with 3 points each, and then obviously Northern Ireland in the bottom with just 1 point. All in all, I mean, the biggest takeaway I get from this is that, you do have some quality players here. I mean, you got guys like Marcel Sabitzer for Austria. And of course, the biggest name of all, Erling Haaland for Norway. And, he showed up in a big way, getting 3 goals and an assist in these 2 matches. And of course, the biggest one being Norway absolutely obliterating Northern Ireland 5-1. Honestly, for the most part, Ireland were just completely outmatched in this one. They had a 1-1 draw against Romania, and but then Romania being able to win 3-2 over Austria looked really good. Austria has a lot of quality players. You got Christoph Baumgartner. I already said Marcel Sabitzer, one of the better midfielders in the world. Karim Onisiwo. And by the way, there are going to be some tough names coming up. So please bear with me with the names. I know I am probably going to butcher some of them. I apologize ahead of time. But I honestly feel in this group, Norway has a big chance to get into League A, even though off the bat, Romania have the lead. They've got 4 goals, giving up 3. So they're looking pretty solid. And I'll tell you what, they got a good complementary of players, especially in the attack. George Puskas being, a really strong player for them. He plays for Reading in the championship. He's really, really good. I'll tell you what, you've probably never heard of a guy named Dennis Alibek. Maybe you have, but most likely you haven't. And I'll tell you what, he is the flashiest player you've never heard of. I guarantee you. I looked up one of his highlights and I was just like, who is this guy? He makes guys look silly. Nutmegs after nutmegs. He lives for that stuff. And so I'm telling you, if you want to have a good time, just looking up, if you like looking up YouTube videos of just random footballers to see how they play, look up Dennis Alibek. This guy is a monster. They did get a goal from both of those, and then obviously Dragos Grijor and Alexandru Maxim each got a goal. So they got, a lot of quality players that can get a goal for them. It's not just one guy that they're getting the goals from. And their assists came from Glad Chiriches and Florinel Coman. 2 goals assists each. So there was a lot of good team play happening with Romania. So they do have, I would say, the better team in this group. But Austria and Norway have the better individual quality. So it'll be interesting. And they're not too far off. They each got a point. They each got a win in this one. So it'll be interesting to see how this group shapes up. This is one of the ones I'm going to be focusing on the most. Next in League B, Group 2. I'm not going to say League B again. I'll say League C when we get there. But Group 2 in League B, we got Scotland, Czech Republic, Israel, and Slovakia. And it is in that order in terms of placement. Scotland ahead of the pack with 4 points, getting a win and a draw. The win coming against Czech Republic and the draw coming against Israel. They look pretty solid. I would expect a little better from them, especially with them having one of the best wingbacks in the world, or fullbacks in the world, in Andrew Robertson. You guys should know who that is. He's the fullback for Liverpool. The guy is a monster, and I do expect Scotland to get into League A in this group, because I don't see, even though Czech Republic looked pretty solid, Scotland won that game against them, which was vital for them to, have a chance to improve and get, lead this group. They did get two, in Scotland's term, they got 2 goals from Ryan Christie, so they got some, so Ryan Christie coming through for them, and Lyndon Dykes got the other goal for them in this one. For Israel, they got 2 draws, so they did what they had to do in terms of, staying amongst the pack and trying to keep, stay within, striking distance of that top spot. They got that draw against Scotland, that's huge, and then they did get a draw against Slovakia. I would have liked to see them win that game, because I feel like they have a lot more quality over Slovakia, but they just didn't. They got the draw, 1-1 draw. So, and then Czech Republic, they got a really dominant victory over Slovakia, 3-1. For the most part, Slovakia just kind of, they did at least getting that draw against Israel, kept them with 1 point, kept them within 3 points of Scotland. But I just feel like Scotland just has too much quality throughout their lineup. They're a really, really strong team, and I see them moving into League A. Now, moving on to Group 3, we've got Russia, Hungary, Turkey, and Serbia. And Russia just looked super dominant in this entire 2 matches. I mean, just 2 matches, but they did look dominant. They scored 6 goals, 3 in each match, defeating Serbia 3-1 and then Hungary 3-2. So they did take the second best team in this group, beating them 3-2, and they got it from a lot of guys. I mean, Artem Zuba scored 2 goals, Anton Midenchuk 1 goal, Mario Fernandez another goal, Karavayev another goal. And I mean, they just have a lot of quality. The team that hosted the last World Cup, they surprised a lot of people there, so they shouldn't be surprising too many people now. I do see them making it into League A. I mean, they do have already 6 points out of the 2 matches. Starting off really, really strong and getting that very important win over Hungary, because I do think, even though I feel like Turkey is the second best team in this group, although they definitely did not show it in these first 2 matches. They didn't even score a goal. They have the quality. I feel like they have the quality to, at least muscle out, a couple more wins. I mean, I don't see them being better than Russia, but they can get over Hungary, even though Hungary, looked very solid in these first 2 games, scoring 3 goals. They did allow 3, but those 3 were against Russia, so, they did what they had to do. Even though they won 1-0 against Turkey, I feel like if Turkey, that was the game Turkey had to win. They got that guy Hakan from AC Milan, who's very solid center attacking midfielder, or I think he's a winger. He's winger, so he's a very solid winger. But it takes more than just one player to really make it through. So I really do see Russia making it past this group and going into League A. I feel like they will be a little outmatched there because they don't really have the individual quality. But in terms of a team, even though Artem Zuba, I mean, he did show up big time for Russia with those 2 goals, like I already said, and he even got an assist. So he did show up in a big way for them, and is a big reason why they're up, 6 points to 3 for Hungary. But yeah, like I said, I definitely see Russia moving on in this group, even though it is early on. They've shown enough for me to think that. Next, in Group 4, last group in League B, we have Wales, Finland, who just got promoted from League C, Ireland, and Bulgaria. Now, in the first game with in this group, we had Wales defeating Finland 1-0, and Bulgaria defeating Bulgaria drawing with Ireland 1-1. Wales, I really feel like I wanted to see a lot more because I like what they have on their squad. I mean, obviously we already know about Bale, who is one of the best in this League B, and then they also have Daniel James, who is the youngster from Manchester United. And he played pretty well. He played very solid in that first game. He got the assist Kiefer Moore. But you just need to see more. They did get some solid contributions from the bench in that last game to get the win over Bulgaria with two subs, Neco Williams and Jonathan Williams, scoring and assisting not both. Neco Williams scored the goal. Jonathan Williams assists the goal. Sorry if I confused it there, but in the end, that's what you need to really make the difference between you and the rest of the pack, and that's why they're ahead in this group with 6 points. I am very impressed with Finland, recently being promoted from League C, and not dominantly, but they looked good in League C in the 2018-2019 Nations League. But now they're securely in second place right now. I mean, there's obviously a long way to go, but they do have 3 points, getting that win over Ireland and shutting them out. But I'll tell you what, Wales, in terms of, I know their offense, I expect to see a lot more, but what was very encouraging was their defense. Their defensive midfielding dynamo in Ampadu, I'm pretty sure I said that name right. I mean, he was unbelievable in these 2 games, just being super poised. And he plays for Chelsea, and he got loaned recently to, I believe, Sheffield United. So he'll be very important for what Sheffield United do in the Premier League. But he's really, really good. And he's going to be very key to what Wales do in this group. And I feel like Wales easily have the top notch, because I mean they have the quality. They're easily the better team out of all of these clubs. I mean, out of all these countries. So I definitely see Wales moving on to League A. But I don't know how much longer you're gonna see Bale there. I mean, I think he's now 31 or 32, and I mean he's a great player, but I mean he didn't really show much in either of these first 2 games. You really want to see more from your top player, and if you don't, when they get to League A, they're gonna get wiped. They're just gonna get wiped. That's just the way it is. So now we are moving on to League C. And we got, in Group 1, we got Montenegro, Luxembourg, Azerbaijan, and Cyprus. I probably said those names super, super wrong. At least the third one. But you say it with confidence and you sound real good, folks. Now, Montenegro lead this group with 2 wins, so they got those 6 points. Luxembourg and Azerbaijan got a win of their own, so they got 3. They're in the second and third place, and Cyprus just absolutely dominated, getting that promotion from League D. They do not look good. I mean, giving up 3 goals, not even scoring 1 in either of the matches, and they didn't even. I mean, they did take on Montenegro. They lost 2-0 in the opening match, and then going up against Azerbaijan. I mean, that was the game they needed to win, or at least draw to at least get a point and be close, but they did not. They lost that match, and it doesn't look good for them in terms of staying in League C. I mean, they didn't show any kind of quality, but in terms of the other teams, I like what Montenegro have from Stevan Jovetic, 2 goals from him, Seyad Sabanovic, just like that. He got that assist. Fatos Bisirash got a goal as well. Probably butchering these names, but you know what? You just go along with it. You'll probably be all right. And Luxembourg. Luxembourg got 2 goals, one from Gerson Rodriguez and another one from Leandro Barreiro. But there wasn't a lot of team play. I feel like a lot of it was individual quality that was able to get them over the top. I don't feel like that'll really work out moving forward. So I definitely see Montenegro winning out in this group and moving on to League B. But we'll just have to see how the next 2 games roll out. When you see Montenegro taking on Luxembourg, that's going to be a really top. Oh no, my apologies. Montenegro already took on Luxembourg, and they won 1-0. There you go. So that was actually a big match. But then it's going to be Montenegro versus Azerbaijan in the next match. If they can win that one, and I definitely feel like they can. I mean, I do not feel like there's any reason why Montenegro should lose that match. they will be in firm position to move on up. So next up, we're going to talk about Group 2. We got North Macedonia, Georgia, Armenia, and Estonia. This is actually a pretty tightly contested group. You have North Macedonia and Georgia tied with 4 points each, getting a win and a draw. Armenia getting a win, which was very solid. They got that win over Estonia, and a convincing one at that, winning 2-0. And then, of course, Estonia, 2 losses, 0 goals scored, 3 allowed. Just like Cyprus, they look pretty overmatched in this group. And I feel like it's going to be very tough for them to stay in League C. We need to see more from them moving on in these next 2 matches. But for North Macedonia and Georgia, I mean, I actually like Armenia more than than the other 2 teams. Even though Armenia did lose to North Macedonia 2-1, the match was very close. I don't feel like it. 2-1 is close, but I'm talking about when you're watching the game, it didn't look like North Macedonia was that much better of a side. I feel like Armenia have something to say about what's going to happen, and I feel like they just have better team play. I feel like overall they play better as a team, and in the end, I feel like especially when you get down to these lower sides or to these lower countries, that's what's going to win out. So I definitely see Armenia, coming back even stronger in the second phase of the Nations League in October, and don't be surprised if you see them at the top of this group by the end of it. Next, in Group 3, we have Greece, Slovenia, Kosovo, and Moldova. Now, this is actually in my opinion, 2 of the top countries in this league. So, I actually feel very, very bad for Kosovo and Moldova. Because, they got put in the group of death. Greece and Slovenia are going to battle it out for who gets to move on to League B, in my opinion. And it's no surprise that the only points that Kosovo and Moldova got in this first 2 matches was against each other with a draw. And when Slovenia took on Moldova, they won 1-0. When Greece took on Kosovo, they won 2-1. So it was close, but in the end, I still feel like especially Slovenia, what Slovenia can do in terms of just, being super organized and well coached. I feel like they're going to be the ones that go out on top, even though I love the Greece names. You got Dimitris Limnios scoring. You got Dimitris Siovas scoring. And then you got Dimitrios Giannoulis with the assist. I know I sound a little ridiculous, but you got a lot of Dimitris. A lot of that. You got a lot of that going on in Greece. But in the end, let's not get too crazy. Even though Slovenia only scored 1 goal against Moldova, and they have, they're not too good of a defense. They've been all right. I still feel like Slovenia are going to come out on top in this group, but Greece will have something to say about that. No doubt about it. Next, we're going to move on to Group 4, last group in League C. And in this one, you got Kazakhstan, Albania, Belarus, and Lithuania. Now, this is a very, very interesting group. Each team won a game. Each team lost a game. And you're there at 3 points each and a really good tie. There are obviously the differences in terms of goals, goal differential, goals scored. So you got Kazakhstan on top because they've scored 3 goals and given up 2. But I really like in terms of which team I feel like is going to be the best one. I think Albania is probably going to come out on top on this one. I don't feel like Lithuania has enough offensively. They've only, they scored 1 goal against Albania, even though, that was the game that Albania lost. I still feel like they just don't have enough in terms of in Lithuania's side. I don't feel like they have enough to really make it out on top in this group. So I do see Albania moving on in this group. But again, let's see. I'm not an expert on these countries, but I will be keeping an eye on it to keep y'all more informed. And now let's move on to League D, the last league. And in Group 1, we have Faroe Islands, who I love. I just love the way that they play. I feel like they're, just really good team-oriented, but also have some really good quality. Faroe Islands leads this group. You got Latvia after that, Malta, and then Andorra. Faroe Islands has 6 points, and Latvia got two draws, so they're behind them with 2. It was the Olsens. The Olsens came through for Faroe Islands. Clement Olsen, Andreas Olsen, and Brendur Olsen each scored. Clement getting 2 goals. And I just feel like this is going to be their group to win. If they don't, I'll be extremely surprised. If anyone's going to really make a run for it, I could see Malta, because I feel like they have a lot more, explosiveness in the attack, and that's what you'll really need, because there's really not a lot of quality here. And even though everyone's pretty even in terms of their performances, that's why this was made. I still feel Faroe Island is going to come through with this one. And in Group 2, last group, we got Liechtenstein, Gibraltar, and San Marino. This only has 3 teams, so there was only 2 matches played. Gibraltar took on San Marino, and Gibraltar won. And then Liechtenstein defeated San Marino 2-0. Gotta feel bad for San Marino. I mean, they're the only team that played 2 matches, and they lost both. Not a really good start for them. Liechtenstein looks very solid, has some good quality up top, and their defense is very solid as well. But we'll need to see more to see really how this group turns out, especially between Liechtenstein and Gibraltar, but that is yet to be seen. So that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Make sure you guys stick around, because in the last part of this show, I'm going to be giving you guys my top 10 wingers in the world. Stick around.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome back, everybody. In the last segment, if you missed it, I gave you guys a full-on recap of League B to League D in the UEFA Nations League. And now we're going to be talking about the top 10 wingers in the world. This is the most exciting position to watch. It's the flashiest. It's where you get the guys that, make it happen for your squad. And they're the funnest to watch. These are the best highlights. These are the best highlights to watch. Any guy I say on this is going to have a highlight reel for the ages. And it's, this is going to be a really exciting list. So let's just get right into it with number 10. This one was a tough one for me, but we're going to go with Eden Hazard of Real Madrid. I know most years, pretty much any year before this one, Eden Hazard would be in the top 5. But, he just fell off big time in his debut season for Real Madrid. A lot of people would say he wasn't fit. But honestly, he had so many injuries this season. The most injuries he's ever had in his career. It sucks that just happened to be in his debut season with Real Madrid. He only got a goal, 4 assists. But he still contributed. He had 87% pass completion of his 39 passes. 1.5 key passes, 1.3 long balls per game, 2.8 dribbles. So he still makes it happen for his squad. But you just need to see more from Hazard. And the thing is, if he pulls out another season like this, I just can't see him being in the top 10. He's just holding on by a thread, and that's honestly purely off what he's done before. And I mean, not that that's a bad thing. I mean, he was one of the best players in the world when he made his move to Real Madrid. So this is just, it's more an indictment of his injuries and what he's had to go through in terms of the last couple months. And I'm expecting Eden Hazard to move up drastically on this list after this season. And that'll be great for Real Madrid, I'll tell you that much. Next, for number 9, we're going to go with Son Heung-min of Tottenham. This guy has been such a consistent player for Tottenham over the years. One of the most underrated players in the world, at least up until the last few seasons. I mean, he's finally getting that reputation that he needs. But 16 goals, 11 assists, absolute dynamite. Does it all for Tottenham. 1.3 key passes, 2.1 dribbles, and I mean, he'll also lay it on the line for his team. He gets about a tackle per game as well. So you get, even though, especially recently with Tottenham, things have not looked good there, but Son has been such a huge player for that team. And he's a big reason why they've been such a top club for so many years. And I know the top player on that squad is Harry Kane. I mean, that talisman striker is, probably one of the best in the world. Just a little mention for the next episode. But Son absolutely deserves to be one of the top wingers in the world. I mean, his solo run, probably one of the goals of the season last year, where he just took the ball from his own half, his own final third, and just moved it all the way up to the other side and then scored the goal. It was one of the craziest goals I've ever seen. I forgot what team it was against, but my God, Son, absolutely world class and one of the top wingers in the world. Number 8, this was actually a tough decision to make because I felt like Raheem Sterling, deserves to be probably a bit higher on this list. But then when I looked at some of the other names and just how they've been this season, I just couldn't put him any higher. I mean, this guy still had 26 goals this season, 4 assists. So, I mean, this guy is a clinical finisher. And, I mean, he creates for himself 1.8 dribbles per game. He can get the ball out to his teammates, 82% pass completion on 32 passes, and 1.6 key passes per game. So, he's really, really great player. What really made me put him this far down on the list is the way that his season ended. I mean, when you have the opportunity to make it past in the Champions League, and he's one of the best players on that Man City squad, there's no doubt in my mind that he's top 3 on that team. Top 2 maybe, just behind Kevin De Bruyne. And when you have an opportunity to send your team into the semifinal of the Champions League, you do it. Like, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. You have to get them in, especially when you got, like, a chip of a goal. Like, I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. When he was playing Lyon, and literally late in the game, he had a wide open shot. I'm talking wide open. And he just sails it over the bar. And this wasn't the first time that that's happened for him. I mean, he's, shored that up little by little, but until he shows that he can make it happen on the big stage, Raheem Sterling just does not deserve to be any higher on this list. And that's why he comes in at number 8. At number 7, we have Mohamed Salah of Liverpool. I mean, what can I say about Salah? Ever since he joined Liverpool, they have gone into a different stratosphere. I remember when I first became a soccer fan, and I was like, what's the better league? Oh, it's Premier League. Oh, okay, let me go check out Premier League. And I saw Liverpool. They were always, especially since I had a friend who was a really big Liverpool fan, and he was always talking about how they've been kind of inconsistent. They're not really, they don't really have a lot of good quality in the side. I mean, that was when Sturridge was their top player. After that, Salah joined, and I mean, he changed it around. He changed it around for Liverpool. He, even as much as Van Dijk, has really shored up that back line and made a difference in that team, Salah started it all. And I mean, just once again, another top class season, world class season, 23 goals, 12 assists, 1.8 key passes per game, 1.8 dribbles per game. This guy just does it all for Liverpool. Plain and simple, he does it all for Liverpool. They couldn't have asked for more when they got him from Roma. They really couldn't have. And he won them the Champions League. He was a big part, probably the best player on that team when they won the Champions League last season, or obviously you know what I mean. Not when Bayern, the season before Bayern won it just now, and they're still and now they just won the Premier League, first time in 30 years. Salah is a big reason for that, and that is exactly why Salah comes in at number 7. Now, number 6 is my favorite player on this list, and I'm sure you guys are going to know why. It is Angel Di Maria of PSG. In my opinion, the best playmaker on this list. You guys know Lionel Messi is going to be on this list. And you'll probably be like, dude, you're out of your mind. But no, I'm not. Di Maria is the best playmaker on this list. He's got 11 goals, 20 assists on the season, 2.8 key passes, 2.1 long balls. Those 2.8 key passes, by the way, lead this list, just letting y'all know. And, I mean, just what he does for PSG, like the poise that he brings to the squad. I know they have the quality of Mbappe and Neymar there, but there are so many times that I can count that Di Maria outshined them both because he's just that good. And he has been that good for so many years. Back to when he was in Real Madrid and helped them win the Champions League. Then he made the move to Manchester United. That was obviously a mistake. But then he moved to PSG, and he has been a legend for the French club. A legend. And he lays it out for the club as well. I mean, he creates for himself 2.3 dribbles per game. He's one of the best dribblers in the world. And then he also lays it out for the club. 0.8 tackles, 0.7 clearances. He's a box-to-box type of guy. Does whatever the team needs for them to win. And that is a big reason why they have been one of the top clubs in the world for so long. And that is another reason why Angel Di Maria comes in at number 6. Next, we are going to move on to Germany, and we're going to be talking about Serge Gnabry. It was really hard for me to put Gnabry over Di Maria, but he deserves it. I mean, this guy, after he exploded onto the scene for Germany in the international scene, scoring like a hat trick in his debut, I believe, and then, coming into Bayern and looking like, he'd be a good player. I mean, I don't expect him to replace Robben, but, I mean, he's going to be good, right? Wrong. He has played better than what Robben was giving Bayern Munich, towards the back end of his career. And I mean, that's no knock on Robben. I mean, Robben was getting old, but Gnabry is just a different type of player. 21 goals, 12 assists. I mean, 1.6 key passes, 1.6 dribbles per game. Doing it all on the offensive end, and then he leads this group, or he leads this list in tackles with 1.5 tackles per game, which just goes to show this man does it all for his team. He was the flashiest player on Bayern Munich, and that's saying something when you talk about the kind of guys that they have on that squad. Talk about Alphonso Davies. Gnabry was better than all of them in terms of just, creativity and just making it happen for Bayern Munich. And is one of the biggest reasons why they won the treble and why they had one of the best seasons in Bayern Munich history. And expect him to be there for many, many years to come. and expect him to be on this list for many, many years to come. I mean, this guy is still super young. I don't know exactly what his age is, but I doubt he's any older than 25. But, yeah, that is a top world-class player. And that is why he comes in at number 5. We're going to stay in Germany and move on to a different club. This time we're going to be talking about the youngster Jadon Sancho of Borussia Dortmund. This man, I should say this boy, because he's like 19, 20 years old, has had 19 goals and 18 assists this season. The biggest combination of goals and assists. Is it? Yeah, I think. No, it's not. It's not. It's almost the biggest combination. The third biggest combination of goals and assists of any player on this list. Just doing everything that Borussia Dortmund could ask for. And, I mean, they have to thank their lucky stars that Sancho is most likely staying with them for another season to be able to have that type of quality class on that side and have it alongside Erling Haaland. I'm really expecting big things from Dortmund this upcoming season. And, I mean, he does it all. 85% pass completion of his 48 passes, 2.2 key passes, 2.6 dribbles, which is up there on the tops of this list. I mean, the kid is just unbelievable. And, I mean, whenever he does make that big-time move, that big-time transfer to whether it's Manchester United or any other Premier League club, he is going to be a star. He already is a star. But, you know what people say about the Bundesliga. Even though they're one of the top leagues in the world, people always like to talk, a little trash about him. Jadon Sancho is going to be up here. Possibly, I could see him leading this kind of list. Obviously, not anytime soon because, when you got Lionel Messi up here, it's going to take a little while for him to get off this list. But expect Jadon Sancho to be leading this list for many years to come. And that is exactly why he comes in at number 4. Number 3. We're in the final 3, people. And at number 3, this one was so hard to decide between number 2 and number 3. Because I just wasn't sure whether should I put him up? Should I put him a little higher? I was like, no, you know what? I'll have him at number 3. Cristiano Ronaldo is number 3. Yes. The man who scored 35 goals for Juventus last season, 5 assists, 85% pass completion of 36 passes, is number 3. Not number 2, which he has been for so many years. He's number 3. And, that's not a terrible spot. Come on. Number 3 best winger in the world, I understand for his standards. That's not where people, especially fans of his, would expect him to be. But I just didn't feel the same type of, dominance that I'm used to seeing from Cristiano Ronaldo. I know 35 goals leads this group. And that's but a big reason for that is because, the striker for them, Higuain, just didn't have it this season. Even though I'm so happy that man is in Inter Miami, he just did not have it and just couldn't keep up with the Serie A pace and style. So that is why Cristiano Ronaldo needed to take a lot bigger scoring, a bigger scoring role. And and that does say a lot about him, that that he has that versatility, that if he needs to go on a scoring run, he can go on that scoring run, but if he needs to facilitate, he can do that as well. But I'm used to Ronaldo just absolutely dominating games, just taking over every single game, and when he doesn't even get past Lyon in the quarterfinal. No, not even the quarterfinal. The round of 16. He doesn't even get past them in the round of 16. What? Come on. Come on, Ronaldo. I need to see better than that, man. 1.3 key passes. 1.7 dribbles. That's nice. That's nice. That's not top 2. I'm sorry, but that's not top 2. But we'll just have to see what he can do in this upcoming season. I think he's turning 35 now. which is also really impressive. I mean, to be 35, getting close to 35 years old, and to still be able to be a top 3 winger in the world just goes to show how big of a player he is. But that is exactly why he comes in at number 3. Number 2, I got Sadio Mane of Liverpool. This guy was in my opinion, the key to the attack last season, with just the amount of creativity that he has for them and just what he gives them. 20 goals, 8 assists, 81% pass completion of his 33 passes per game, 1.8 key passes, 2.2 dribbles. I mean, the list goes on and on. 1.4 long balls per game. Mane is just world class. I mean, this guy, the pace that he has just changes the game for Liverpool. I know Salah all the way down at 7 just kind of seems too big of a gap. But I mean, come on, you got Liverpool. You got 2 top 7 wingers in the world on your squad, and Mane. I mean, for a while, I would say Salah was better than him. 100%, Salah was better than him, but as of late, Mane has taken that mantle, and he, in my opinion, deserves to be number 2 on this list. He was one of the key factors to Liverpool winning that Premier League championship, 30-year drought, done. I mean, he's just a top player. He does so many things for his team and opens so many things up for them. Like I know that his 20 goals, 8 assists. I mean, that's still huge. But like compared to some of the other guys, like in the top 5, top 6, isn't really that great. But that's because what he does in terms of making those really important runs, making the right passes, opens things up for his team and really changes the game for Liverpool. So that is exactly why Sadio Mane comes in at number 2. And of course, number 1. Did anybody expect anything different than Lionel Messi of Barcelona, the GOAT, the man who has just continuously shown that he can be the man night in and night out, just winning your team games. Well, I should say winning Barcelona games. The guy put up 28 goals and 24 assists. I mean, what is that? Like, what? 28 goals and 24 assists? Are you kidding me? 8.6 rating. An 8.6 rating. I can't do that in FIFA. Whatever. I mean, I'm not that good at FIFA, but I'm sure but those are FIFA numbers. 8.6 rating, those are FIFA numbers. And it just goes to show how important he was to Barcelona. And it's just sad that they just couldn't win him anything else. I mean, I understand when you're that kind of quality, you have to make it and win it in the big stage. But no one was going to beat Bayern this year. But to lose 8-2, that's sad. And definitely ended his career, even though he's going to be with Barcelona for another season. But I mean, he just does it all. 82% pass completion of his 55 passes, 2.5 key passes per game, 6 dribbles per game. I mean, nothing will ever top Messi on this list until he decides to retire, in my opinion. Because this guy is just the smartest man on the floor at all times. The smartest man on the floor. And nothing will change my mind about that. So that is exactly why Lionel Messi comes in at number 1. So that's going to wrap it up for today's episode, folks. I hope you guys enjoyed. I feel like I am just bringing out my personality to you guys in these episodes, and I hope you're enjoying it. I love talking sports with you guys. I'm pretty sure I say this all the time. And I'm just going to continue to bring out the highest of quality to you guys. So, as always, thank you for listening to the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us. Also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, I would really appreciate it. Thank you and have a great night.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.